Even if you just use AI to host your application, you need to know these basics, trust me. Otherwise, you are going to struggle. And I strongly believe that nowadays, in this era of AI, you need to learn better. If you don't know, even if you are just developing very fast, you will be out of business very fast. Okay, that is what is my prediction. What is a server? Most of the people will say server is basically a PC where we host our application. That is not 100% true. A server is basically a software or an application that can receive a request from the network and it can process it and then it can send the response to the network. Any application, any software that can do this is a server. So suppose you have developed an application with Node.js. So your Node.js application can receive a request and it can send the response. So your Node application is a server as well. There is a server. Okay. Now for your Node application, you do not want to directly get the request. Okay. What you want to do rather, you want to use Nginx in between that can also send or receive request. Okay. So Nginx is also a server. So multiple servers you can run according to your need. So today we are going to use Nginx as a proxy server that will send the request to our Node server and Node server will send the response to the Nginx server. Nginx will send the response to the client. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So in the previous lecture, we already saw how the forward proxy server, how the reverse proxy server, how do they work. Okay, and we created our own custom proxy servers. Now we shall use Nginx. Why Nginx? Nginx is a very popular and well-tested, well-documented application. Okay, so that's why we are going to use Nginx. Now, we do not need this forward proxy and reverse proxy anymore, but we need this server. Okay, and this is a Node server basically. It's a simple server. It is listening in port 3001, and this is basically setting up a GET request API URL for test, and it is just sending the response from the server, a simple response. Okay, what we shall do basically, we shall see this in practical. Okay, how we can host this application in AWS, and we shall also use Nginx as the reverse proxy server there. Okay, so we shall install there Nginx as well. So definitely we shall use Ubuntu server, basically the Linux server. So let's get into that first. So this is my AWS account. Okay, so here I need to first create an EC2 instance. So if you do not know about EC2 instance is basically a VM, basically a virtual machine provided by the AWS. Okay, and this is on-demand service. So let's create instance. So we shall use the Ubuntu and we shall use the Ubuntu 24.04. Okay, this one is quite stable. And here instance type will be T3 micro, a simple small VM. Okay, so here we need to select a key pair for the SSH login, SSH connection. Okay, so if you do not have any key pair, if you just click this button, it will create one. I already have some, so I want to use this sharp KP. Okay, and here you need to select the security group. If you do not have, you can create one. I have one, so I will select this one. And here we have the configure storage, basically 8 GB, just a simple small storage, 8 GB GP3. Okay, so the basic configuration is done. So now we can just launch the instance. Okay, so it is creating the instance and the instance is successful, but it is still initializing, you can see here. Okay, so it will take a little time to run it. So let's wait till then. So our instance is running. Here we can see that 3x3 checks are passed. So health status is good. Okay, so now it is running. Now we can do SSH login to this VM. Okay, so first we need to copy this public IP, this IP. We shall connect with this IP. So let's copy this. And now we shall go to our terminal. So here we are in the terminal. So we shall do SSH login, and for that we need to give the credentials. So remember that we gave this key pair. If you created the key pair, then it was downloaded. Okay, I have used the sharp KP. So it was created before and it is already downloaded. That is in my PC already. So what I shall do, I shall use the I flag for that PM file, and which is in the desktop location. And here I have the sharp.kp.pem. Now what I shall do, I shall give the username. Username is by default Ubuntu @ that IP. Okay, so let me hit enter. So it is just give yes. See, now it is connected. So as this Ubuntu user, now I am logged into the server, and this is SSH login. So I can run terminal command now in my server from here. Okay, first check where are we, our location. So we are in the home Ubuntu. Okay, fair enough. So now what we shall do, basically we shall install the Nginx here. Okay. And also we shall upload our server, that small server, this server file in the VM. And then we shall run it there using the node. Okay, so two things we have to install in the server. First of all, we need to install the Nginx and also we need to install the node. So let's install the Nginx. That's quite simple. So first of all, as the server is just ready now, so I need to do sudo apt update. So what it will do, basically, it will update all the packages, and then if I run sudo apt upgrade, what it will do, basically, it will install all the latest packages that it just updated with the sudo apt update. Okay, so now it will install. Okay, see, it's installing all the packages. That's good. Okay, so the installation is done. Now let's install sudo apt install Nginx. Okay, now it will install Nginx. Okay, so the Nginx installation is done. Okay, so let's check if the Nginx is installed. So for that, I shall run sudo systemctl status Nginx. See, Nginx is running. It is showing it is active and running. Okay, so Nginx is there. So as the Nginx is there, if we now go to the etc/nginx/sites available, this location should be available. Okay, as the Nginx is installed. Okay, so we are inside this. Now let's do ls. Here we can see this default. This is a file, basically. This is the default configuration of the Nginx. Okay, so let's open this in the Vim editor. Let's see what is inside this. So here we can see the configuration of the server. Here it is listening to port 80, default server. And here it is basically serving this file. Here it is basically saying that inside this location, there is a HTML file that is being served when we shall go to this server, basically in this port. Port 80 is the default port for the HTTP. And for the HTTPS, it is 443. We already know that. Okay. So let's copy this IP, and here what we shall do, basically we shall run http:// this IP. Okay, now it is supposed to give us this. See, welcome to Nginx. Okay, now the question is, where is this coming from? This is coming from this file, basically the file inside this directory. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's quit this and let's go to cd/var/www/html. Okay, now we are inside this directory, and here we can see this HTML file. Here you can see index.nginx.debian.html file, and if we open this with Vim editor index.this file, here you can see this is the HTML. Welcome to Nginx. All the things that we saw here, it is coming from that page. Okay, that HTML file, basically. So why am I showing this to you? I am showing this to you basically to show you how the Nginx actually works. What it does, basically, if you go to this /etc/nginx/sites available, this is the most important directory, and all the configuration is done here. Okay, so we can create a file here, and in that file, if we configure the Nginx perfectly right away, then we can host our application like any direct HTML file, or we can do proxy pass to some other server. Okay, now that is what we shall do. We shall use the Nginx as the proxy server. So in this server, we shall also run our node application in the port 3001. Okay, but when we go to a specific IP, we do not give like port 80. Okay, because the port 80 is the default. We do not need to provide that. Okay, but if you're running your application in port 3001, then you will have to specifically provide that it is running on 3001. Then you will be able to see your application because it is serving in that particular port. Okay, in one VM, we can run multiple applications. Suppose I have 5 Node.js applications. One is running in port 3001, one is running in 3002, 3003, 3004, and then 5. When the user will give the domain name or the IP, user will never give the port. Port is always fixed. It is 80. So we can use the Nginx proxy server in between. So our next task now is to install the node, as we shall run the node application. So to install the node, we can just do sudo apt install node.js. We can do that too. Okay, but this one will install an older version that we do not want. Okay, so what we shall do, we shall use the curl, and with this curl, basically curl will download this script from this location. Okay, so let's hit enter. So it is downloading. Okay, so the download is done. Now we can run the sudo apt install -y node.js. So it is installing, it is installed. So let's check node-v. So node is installed, version 22. Okay, so fair enough. Now we need to upload this application basically in our server. So what we can do, we can basically use Git, then we can push it in the GitHub, then from our server we can git pull. Okay, now we are not going to go there. So rather what we shall do basically here, we shall zip this file, the server file, and then we shall upload the zip file, and then in the server we shall unzip it. Okay, so let's create another window, basically another terminal, and let's go to the location of my server file here. So it is, I think, inside the test, the proxy server, yeah. So let's do ls. So here you can see I have the forward proxy, reverse proxy, and the server. This is what I need. Okay, so I shall create tar file. So with tar command, tar czf, I shall give it the name of the tar file. So it will be server.tar.gz, and then I shall give the location of the file. So what I am saying basically, whatever inside this server location, basically server directory, zip that and name it this name. Okay, so this is what is gonna happen. See, now if I do ls, it is also showing this file. Here you can see I have this file, server.tar.gz. Okay, so now I shall upload this in the server. Now how am I going to do that? I shall do that with SFTP connection. FTP, you already know that FTP is basically file transfer protocol, and SFTP is basically secured file transfer protocol. Okay, this is similar to the SSH. So this is absolutely similar, just the SFTP connection with -i desktop/sharpkp pem file, and then I shall do Ubuntu, then at the rate of the IP of my server. Okay, see, the connection is done, connected to the server SFTP connection. Now it is done. Now SFTP has two commands, one is get, one is put. With get, we use get to download from the server, and we use put to upload something to the server. Okay, so we shall use put, and we are inside this location proxy server in my PC because I ran this command when I was in this directory. Okay, so I can now simply say put server.tar.gz. Okay, that file, that particular file. Now see, it is uploading and it is saying 100% is done. So now let's go to my server. So here I'm in the home location. See, /home/Ubuntu. Now if I run ls, see, I have this file, server.tar.gz. Okay, so my file is uploaded. Now what I shall do, basically I shall unzip it with that very same command tar. Now I shall run xzf. Okay, now I shall just give the name of the file, server.tar.gz. I shall hit enter. See, it is unzipped. Now if I run this, see, I have this directory now. Okay, now I can remove the server.tar.gz. Okay, I do not need this anymore. So let's go to the server. So here you can see that we have all the files. So by mistake, I also uploaded the node modules that I should not have done. I could have just run here npm install or npm ci. Okay, I mean, it's a small file, that's why it didn't take much time. Now let's run our application node index.js. See, server 1 is running, import 3001. Okay, and my terminal is engaged. Now I cannot do anything else. I don't want that. What I want, basically, I want to run it in the background. So for that, what we can use PM2 package, npm install -g PM2. I shall install it globally. That's why I have given -g, and it's an npm package. So if I do that, it will install the PM2. Okay, so it is giving error. The error is because, okay, it could not access. Okay, so I think I need to run with sudo npm install -g PM2. Now it is supposed to install. So now see, it is installed. PM2 is there. Now here I am inside the server. So now I shall do PM2 start index.js. Okay. So see, okay, our application is running. Okay. So let's look at the logs, PM2 logs. And here we can see server 1 is running. Okay. So our application is running in the background. Okay. So still we can run commands and our application is running. That's good. Now let's go to our browser. Now see, here we are in this IP and our application is running in port 3001, remember, and we have given the port 3001. Now if we hit enter, it is supposed to hit the port 3001. Okay, but it is not accessing. I cannot access the port 3001. Why? Because the firewall is stopping. Okay, what firewall? The security groups that we used here, this security here, remember the security groups we selected. So here we have the port 3000. We did the configuration for the port 3000, not for the 3001. So we need to edit the rule. Let's make this one 3001. Okay, now let's save the rules. Now let's try this again. See, node server is working and it is saying that we cannot get anything in slash. Okay, so what I have to do here, basically I have to give test. Remember the test, basically this API URL, okay, test, and it is supposed to give me response from server. So let's see if it does so. See, response from the server. Okay, so see, my node application is running in port 3001. I cannot run multiple application in port 80. That is not possible. Okay, in port 80 you can run only one application. So you can design your proxy server in such a way that every single port 80 will hit your proxy server, and proxy server will decide, looking at your domain name, where to forward that proxy request. Okay, here we cannot use multiple domain name because we have not used any domain name, and in that domain we need to configure this IP so that the name servers know that this IP belongs to this domain name. Okay, so we are not going to do that configuration here. We'll keep it simple here, but just to tell you that this is how it works. Okay, so now let's go to our terminal. So now we want to configure our Nginx so that it can proxy pass. Okay, so let's go to Nginx. So cd/etc/nginx sites available. Okay, so here we have the default configuration. So what we shall do, basically we shall remove this default configuration. We shall not use this one. Okay, rather, okay, I need to run sudo remove default. Okay, now let's create a file, nginx proxy config test. Okay, so this is the file I'm going to create. This file is created. Now I need to do some configuration here. Okay, so let's do sudo vim nginx proxy config test. So now I need to do the configuration here. Okay, so first of all I need to write the server, and then inside this server block, first of all I need to say this will listen always port 80. Okay, this is the most important thing first of all. And the server name, basically there will be no server name. Okay, I shall keep it blank, or even we can just remove this. We do not need to provide this. Okay, now we need to say for the location slash, I mean for the root, what we shall do, we shall use the proxy pass command. Okay, so it will be proxy pass to where? To the http://localhost 3001, and in the localhost 3001 our node is running. Okay, so let's end this with semicolon. Now our proxy server configuration is done. The basic configuration is done. Okay, it will now work, but still, as I already said in the previous lecture, that we need to configure the headers as well. If you use proxy server, we need to tell what is the actual host name. I mean, this is the proxy server, right? But the client's IP, client's headers information, that should be passed to the actual server. Okay, so let's do that. So let me just copy paste them here. Okay, so the proxy header, it is basically saying the host is the actual client host is being passed in the host header. So, and other information as well. Okay, so this is the basic configuration. Okay, so let's save this. So if you run wq in the vim, it will be saved. Okay, so it is saved, fair enough. Now what we shall do, See, whatever configuration we are writing here in this location, basically the etc slash nginx slash sites available, that will not be counted. The nginx will be basically look into another location, which is slash etc slash nginx slash sites enabled. In this location it will look into. Okay, we have to basically copy this file, basically copy a shortcut of this file into that link. Okay, so we can do that with ln command. This basically ln-s, we can say slash etc slash nginx slash sites available, then this file, basically nginx proxy config test file. This file we want to create a copy or a shortcut copy inside this slash etc slash nginx slash sites enabled. Okay, so it will basically create the symbolic link, which is basically a shortcut of that file. So let's hit enter. So it is basically saying fail to run because I did not give sudo. So let's give sudo. So now it worked. Now if we go to this link cd slash etc slash nginx slash sites enabled. See, we have this file here, the shortcut. The default is there. Default we already removed from the sites available. Okay, that's why it is saying red that it is just a shortcut. The main file is deleted. So we need to remove this from here as well. Default. Okay. So I need to run sudo. Okay, fair enough. So let me go to the cd slash etc slash nginx sites available. Fair enough. Now what I need to do, I need to just restart the nginx server. So for that, sudo system control restart nginx. See, it is restarted. Okay, so now it should work. So from here, I do not need to provide this 3001 port anymore. And if I do not provide any port, the default port is always 80. This one and this one is same. Okay, so in port 80, the Nginx is running. We already know that. So it will hit the Nginx, and Nginx will proxy pass to that node server, and that will send the response to the Nginx. Nginx will send the response back to the client here. Okay, so we are supposed to get the same response. Okay, now even if we have removed the 3001 port, see, we got it. See, so now our proxy server is working. Okay, so this is how the Nginx proxy server works, and you can use it to host multiple applications with different domain names in the same VM. Okay, in the same virtual machine. Now there are two servers are running. One is the Nginx server and another is the node server. So that's it for today. I hope you understood and enjoyed how it works, how the proxy server works in using the Nginx. I hope in production you can use it now. Even if you just use AI to host your application, you need to know these basics, trust me. Otherwise, you are going to struggle. If you don't know this, what it is doing under the hood, any problem will happen. You will just lose control. You will know what to do, and what is happening, you don't even know that. Okay, so if you know the basic, if you have good knowledge of your system, if you have good knowledge of your application, how it is actually working, and you can use AI and work 3 times faster. Okay, but you have to know them, and I strongly believe that nowadays in this era of AI, you need to learn better. Okay, you need to know more. If you don't know, even if you are just developing very fast, you will be out of business very fast. Okay, that is what is my prediction. So be careful, keep learning, keep working, and take care of your health. And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button, please. It means a lot to us. And at least give a comment that if you like the video, just appreciate us, just say thanks. That's a big thing. Okay, the comment section is almost empty. Bye bye.